Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. Phil Perry is alongside. The next time you'll talk to us or hear from us, we'll be in Las Vegas, Nevada, coming to you from Super Bowl 56. 56, Phil?
Sounds good.
All right. What do we got for you today? We're going to talk a little bit about Nick Caley, who seems to be pulling away from the pack as the Patriots offensive coordinator candidate. We'll talk as well about Bill Belichick and the comments that Tom Brady Sr. had about Bill, and a couple simple questions vis-a-vis Bill Belichick. And here's two of them. I'll preview them for you right now. Will Bill Belichick ever coach another team to a playoff win? Will Bill catch Don Shula? We'll kick that around. But first, simple question, complicated answer, Phil. How long is this going to take here in New England? Is this a good opportunity? I have some pros and cons that I'll reel through before allowing you to use your mouth for a good period of time. Here's your pros as I see them. High pick, cap space, defense, if personnel, ownership, fan base. Your cons. Complete teardown on offense. No experienced coordinators on either side of the ball or special teams. Ownership with high expectations. Fan base with high expectations and sharpened swords. Replacing a legend. And uncertainty about who is doing exactly what. So organizationally, there are questions. Phil? Your ball. How long was this? No, I did put a question on my program here. Q1, : how long will this realistically take, Phil Perry?
Oh, boy. I think realistically, it's 3 years.
To get back to 500?
No. To get back to contention.
2 years to 500.
2 years to get to 500 feels good. Yeah. And Tom, honestly, if we want to be glass half full about this thing right now, we've seen it happen in less time than that. Look at the Houston Texans.
But they were already getting better. You know, they were the worst team in football last year, or one of them. But they had already cratered. This Patriots team is cratering, and they're still not standing up and dusted off yet.
But they were so far away. I don't think anyone would look at their roster from 2020. I mean, they were 3-13 in 2022. 3-13. And I would argue they had fewer pieces defensively than the Patriots have now. New head coach, new quarterback, relatively new GM in Nick Caley, as experienced as he's been in NFL years. So it all depends on if you can find, obviously, the right piece of quarterback and a couple of pieces around that player that you know are going to be able to perform at a high level. That it can be, and this is so rare. And so I don't want to act like this is the reasonable expectation for the Patriots, because it's not. But if you can find the right guy at that position, it can jumpstart everything.
In order for that guy to be the right guy, he needs to have the time to make decisions and make mistakes. Realistically, I don't care who it is. Whoever it is probably going to throw 15 picks as a rookie. Hopefully he can get to 20 touchdown passes. But I just actually thinking of a Patriots quarterback throwing 20 touchdown passes after what we've watched for the last few years. I mean, Cam got to 8. Mac Jones got to 14. I don't know if they had 20 touchdown passes all year. This is a team that had 50 15 years ago. But I look at those things and I keep thinking to myself, you're probably going to be a top 10 selecting team in 2025 as well. Build the line, trade down, add a pick, build the line.
What you do if you do that, and I know you know this though, what you do when you do that is you bypass the opportunity to take a quarterback near the top of the draft. Which
very top, yep.
Isn't always where the best are found. But in general, how the draft works in the NFL, it works the way it's supposed to, where generally speaking, over time, the best players go near the top, and the higher you pick, the better off you are. So I understand your proposal. This is something that the Eagles did a long time ago, and they actually thought they gave him a contract, found out they actually struck out on their highly drafted quarterback.
Carson Wentz, yep.
Carson Wentz. And then, spent a much lower investment on a different type of player, but leaned into his skill set, a skill set that I think the rest of the NFL is starting to find out, oh, hey, this can work and work at a really high level in this league. It's why you see somebody like Anthony Richardson, not a polished passer at all, go in the top 10 last year. So there are different ways of doing it. It's just you could build the line, Tom. You could have the best line in football for 5 years consecutively and never make the playoffs if you don't have the quarterback.
I don't think Jalen Hurts is necessarily the quarterback. I think that line makes him who he is. I think there's examples of that all around the NFL. I think Dak Prescott, in many ways, has been that. A guy who's been made by the brilliance of an offensive line around him. And then when it gets to high leverage situations where the line is neutralized by outstanding defenses, you see the blemishes in him. I think that the Dolphins, I mean, I don't know how good their offensive line is, but they went at it on a different tack. They got the high level players on the outside. But the Eagles did both. I mean, Smith, AJ Brown, sick ass offensive line. I mean, quarterback is the downfall of that team. If they had, and I'm not saying Jalen Hurts sucks. Believe me, he is certainly a top 12 quarterback. He was an MVP candidate statistically and leadership wise. But that, to me, I'm getting closer and closer to saying when I say don't take Daniels, don't take May, don't take Caleb Williams. I mean, he's a no for me. I mean, that's another Carson Wentz situation waiting to happen. It was Carson Wentz's personality and sense of entitlement that ruined things in Philadelphia. But that's neither here nor there. My stance would be to anybody when they say, how in God's name could you pass on a quarterback? Say, it's not him, it's us. It's us right now. We don't deserve to take a top 3 quarterback and do to him what we're going to do to him if we put him into this system with no wide receivers, no offensive line to speak of, a first-year coordinator, a first-year head coach, people getting, handed their key cards and figuring out where to live and where the hell Rentham is. And they're supposed to be shepherding a quarterback. I know Rentham's easy to find. I've known you so long, I can see your face. I got too far afield.
You can just skip Rentham. I mean, they got great outlets, but you could just skip it.
All right. But it's not you, Jaden. It's us. We're not ready for you.
And I get that, but what if you miss? What if the quarterback is a CJ Stroud? What if he is a Joe Burrow? Tom, the Bengals had nothing when they drafted Joe Burrow. The offensive line sucked when Joe Burrow played his rookie year. They had no receivers. They drafted one in the second round right after drafting Joe Burrow in the first in T. Higgins. And then the next year they got another guy and they took off. If you feel as though you have a special player at that position and you pass on the opportunity just because you're not ready, you might guarantee that you don't find him for another 10 years.
But they all look special. And that's the thing is they all look, here's the thing. What I'm saying is like Michael Penix, people have convinced themselves Michael Penix is special by the time that bowl game was played, the national championship game. And he put up numbers that look special. He's not special. His build isn't special. His mechanics are not special. His arm isn't special. His accuracy isn't special. And hey, I'm giving unvarnished opinion. He might be the rookie of the year next year.
Well, no, you're recognizing that though now. Don't you think teams see that now too? I think
yes, but you also get cowed into saying, well, shit, man, we're up here at number 3 and Jaden Daniels is too skinny or Drake May likes to throw off platform too much, but I don't really like it. Or I don't like Caleb Williams and the cut of his jib, but I'm going to take him because I feel like I gotta, because I'm all wet if I don't. What if?
You are though. You are. And your Jalen Hurts point, I think kind of makes my point. If you're saying that they are a quarterback away, they've got the best line, 2 of the best receivers in football, and they still don't have enough because they don't have the quarterback. They don't have the right guy at the most important position. So if you think that guy's there, you can't pass on him just because the rest of your team's not ready. You got to build around him and expedite it. Be urgent. Draft nothing but offense if you have to for an entire draft. I don't care. You just have to figure out a way to make that work if you think you've got a special guy there.
You just got to make the offense better. The quarterback will take care of itself. That was my segue into this for our Fanatics segment today. These odds are powered by PointsBet. It's a Fanatics experience. The first overall pick in the draft, you got Caleb Williams at minus 950. For you folks scoring at home, you have to bet 950 to make 100. Drake May is plus 700. You put 100 down and Drake May goes number one, you get $700. Marvin Harrison, you put 100 down on him, you make 1,500 if he's the first overall pick. Jaden Daniels is plus $3,500. I don't want Caleb Williams. I don't think Caleb Williams is going to work here for a variety of reasons that I already pointed out, Phil. You're going to need in this organization right now stability, direction, and discipline. And I think Gerard Mayo is going to afford that. But you have to have the right kind of self-starting quarterback who's not a finger pointer and not a me guy to do that. And I'm not sure Caleb Williams is going to be this guy. And before I throw it to you, I want to just visit that athletic story on the Jets, because those are experienced guys. You got Nathaniel Hackett at offensive coordinator. Robert Salazar is going into his fourth year now. But to me, organization, knowing where folders are and times tables and how things are done and when meetings are done and who's in charge of what, it's absolutely key. And the Jets were said to be disorganized. And I'll tell you this, Pete Carroll failed here because he was woefully disorganized. He went 10-6, 9-7, 8-8. One of the biggest complaints is he was scatterbrained. He didn't have enough organization. Bill Parcells was an organized dude. Bill Belichick is a legendarily organized dude. What Gerard's going to need is a Berge. Berge Nigerian was Bill Belichick's brain. Berge allowed Bill to be Bill. Literally made sure the trains were running on time. So, yeah, you got to change the culture and the mood and the tempo and how everybody feels about coming to work. But that doesn't mean loose. And I'm not saying Mayo is going to be loose because he is a disciplined guy. He used to threaten me with fines. Mayo did when we first started working together, and I would go to the Renaissance or Skipjack's for dinner, and I would show up like a minute or two late. Late? How can I? Late? Why are you late? So he can't have tolerance for guys like me who show up a minute or two late for everything. Anyway, that organizational component is absolutely a major part, Phil, of the success level in 2024 that we're going to see for the Patriots. And right now, it doesn't look, smell, feel, taste organized.
And that's because of how the offensive coordinator search has gone?
GM clarity, vision clarity, hiring at special teams, resolution on assistant coaches like Steve Bryan. The simple fact that they're a 1 year ahead on the timeline that we've talked about a million times. We shouldn't lose sight of that. They're a year ahead on the timeline. Gerard's contract was going through 2025. Bill's was going through 2025. 4-13 wasn't on the horizon. Once it did, everything got accelerated. So here we are, scrambling.
I know you say 2025 for the listeners through the 2024 season is what you mean. I think.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Into 2025. Yeah. And you're right. And I keep coming back to this word urgency, Tom. I do feel as though leadership with the team now, Patriots brass, are careful not to act too quickly on some of these big picture decisions. But there is a line there somewhere. And I don't want to be Mr. Overreaction media guy, which, hand up, I am all the time. We all are at times. But there's a line there somewhere where, in the name of not moving too quickly, you lose the opportunity to best prepare yourself for the upcoming season. And I think we're approaching that line. When you don't have an offensive system in place, while you are doing your up close scouting of the best players in the country, ostensibly, a lot of them at least, at the Senior Bowl, or when you're making preparations to go to the combine, and you still don't know what you want to do on that side of the ball, to me, it's impossible to be fully prepared.
Right.
Right. And to how do we want to attack these interviews? Yes, of course, we're going to be interested in the top quarterbacks, but are there players that we might be overlooking now because we're not sure what we're going to be doing from an X's and O's standpoint at receiver, at running back, at tight end? Is somebody actually a better fit for us than we're thinking about right now?
Mm-hmm.
And might we have different questions for that person? And how about the people asking the questions themselves? Wouldn't the offensive coordinator want to be in these meetings at the Senior Bowl, meeting with these guys in person, Tom, especially the quarterbacks? Wouldn't you love to meet with these quarterbacks
Yes.
half a dozen times before the draft? Because this is an
And
opportunity to meet them right now. Senior Bowl, combine, meetings at Gillette Stadium, workouts at their college campuses. Time is running now. The hourglass has been tipped over, and you still don't have somebody to lead you on the arguably most important side of the ball in the sport.
And what happens, I would imagine, is because they're very intelligent and they know football better than us, no matter how much we tell ourselves we do. Elliott Wolf, Matt Groh, Gerard Mayo, they have to ask questions by proxy for who they assume to be their offensive coordinator. So you have to go into all interviews saying, well, we're looking for this. We think that Caley likes this. Let's ask it this way. What's going to fit for Caley? So you have a presupposition of what this player is going to look like eventually. But you are kind of blindly trying to fit. Now, if everybody with two eyes can tell, these are your 5 best tight end candidates here. So let's not overcomplicate it. I don't care if it's Nick Caley or, I don't know, there's so many candidates have gone through, the Kubiak kid or Turner, whoever else. That's a good tight end. Okay. 2 arms, 2 legs, he can run. We're good. We don't need to know everything he thinks about Eastern philosophy. So boom, you figured that out. But it is inherent that they find these things and figure these things out. So you have a better, and that's the thing, is if you're hiring a tight ends coach, no matter how promising he is, and Nick Caley, does Nick Caley know his vision? That's why he needs to be hired ASAP.
And I'll just give you just one quick example of the kind of thing, because this is just sort of popping into my head as we're.
Can I just say this, though? These guys are smart. They understand that. They're not sitting there saying, oh, I don't know what we're going to do. They are smart. They've thought of all the things that we've thought of, and they have the resources to answer the questions that we're asking. Go ahead, Phil. I'm sorry.
They are. You're right. I would just say this in terms of the process leading up to the draft, because I think it's noteworthy. The kinds of things you can do, especially with quarterbacks at that position, are meet them at the Senior Bowl, talk to them at the Senior Bowl, talk to them about concepts, maybe about your offense a little bit, maybe about their offense in college. Then the next time you meet them, maybe you're on a whiteboard and you're teaching them a concept from your offense and you're asking them to regurgitate it in real time 5 minutes later. Well, then you meet them again 3 weeks later at a visit at Gillette Stadium. And you have an opportunity then to see how much information they've retained over your previous several meetings, how much they've studied over the course of their free time between the last time you saw them and the next. I think the development of that relationship, as surface level as it may be, as deep as it can go based on 5 or 6 meetings, I think that can be critical to your evaluation. And
You're
if
right.
this pick at number 3 overall is one of the most important decisions you make as an organization in the last 20 years, you would think that you would want to leverage all of these different opportunities along the way as much as you can. And I'm not sure they're able to do that yet.
You should have already spent, Phil, you're right. If it's quarterback, you probably should have already spent the equivalent. And I'd like to ask a GM who has had a high pick, we'll do this at the Super Bowl next week. How many hours did you physically spend with said candidate before drafting him? Is it 8? Is it 10? Is it 3? Is it a day, a full day? How long can the visit be? Can the guy stay for a week? One visit, but it was a week. So you should be intimately knowledgeable about the candidate, and you have to be. And those are the things that have to happen too. if you want the tight end Bowers from Georgia, if you trade down to number 8, give Atlanta that chance to take Jaden Daniels. You say, fuck it, we're going to go, screw it. We're going to go down to number 8 and take Bowers. Is that the kid's name?
Yes. Brock
Oh,
Bowers.
See, I'm getting my draft stuff done.
You're there.
You move down. Do you know him inside and out? Because he's a top 10 pick, man. You better know if he's, bounces checks. People write checks. You better know that if he's ever invaded a Panda Express, you need to know those things. Okay?
Fair.
So you got to have your security team. That's the thing. You have to have your security team working overtime, kicking over rocks, lifting up manhole covers, checking around inside. What's this guy got? Because you can't have dinks. In an organization that right now is a little bit adrift, discipline-wise, in terms of, hey, we haven't set the full tone to the 53 or the 45 or however many under a contract. We haven't set the full tone, but we have to let them know that even though Bill's gone, we're still on your shit. Until then, you better make sure that you're getting the right guys in, your high-level character guys, because you can't be building around nitwits. You can't be building around nitwits or putting them in high-capacity, leveraged situations. Nitwits, guys who are not emotionally mature, selfish guys, people who don't see the bigger vision as to what's going on, people who are put their self-interest ahead of things. So that is critical in the top 5 of this draft, especially with a rookie head coach, because there's opportunity for anybody taken in the top 5 who is self-interested to say they didn't know what they were doing. They weren't ready for me. It's not my fault.
We put that in your Twitter bio. You can't be building around nitwits. Or are you going to keep the Aqib Talib quote in there?
I took the Aqib Talib quote out when the shooting happened last year.
Oh, good call by you. Amazed at how many people thought that was actually an Aqib Talib quote, but that's neither here nor there.
All right. So say the hiring is Nick Caley, and indications are that he is going to be that, both through our sources. Andrew Callahan said that he was finalist for the job. I didn't know they were doing finalists, but the indication is he's going to be the guy. And my understanding is the hiring is imminent of someone. Don't have the individual's name, but I'm guessing that it's Nick Caley, but they are close. So presuming Nick Caley is the offensive coordinator, Phil, why is it a good hire? Because of the reasons you mentioned?
I think he'd be a good hire because he's an intelligent guy by all accounts. Players who have worked with him here in New England that I've spoken to really love him. And I think it's his style, it's his approach, Tom, that would attract Gerard to working with him, because I think they are of a similar mind in terms of, we want to make our players understand that we care about them. That's how we're going to motivate them. That's how we're going to get the best out of them. And then we're going to use our brains. Again, 2 intelligent guys in Mayo and Caley. We can throw DeMarcus Covington in there too, because he is wired similarly, to leverage all of their skills, help them improve, show them that we are making them money, allowing them to put their best selves on tape. And that's how we're going to approach this rebuild that is going to be loaded with young players who need good coaching. So he's never worked with a quarterback, Tom, but he's been a tight ends coach. He's worked very closely with one of the greatest offensive line coaches of all time in Dante Scarnecchia when it comes to Patriots blocking schemes when he was here. He's worked with one of the best offensive coordinators in recent NFL history in Josh McDaniels, who has run a variety of different schemes. It's been a similar language for a long time here in New England under Josh McDaniels, but he ran just about every method of offense that you could run when Tom Brady was here, outside of the zone read stuff. And he ran a bunch of that with Cam Newton. So he's got some great references.
Yep.
He's an energetic guy. He's a young guy. I think it would be a good hire.
There's a lot of things that add up. It's almost like I was saying with Jaden Daniels, Drake May, anybody who'd be looking at this position or this organization right now. It's a tough spot to bring in another untested guy. And I think you'd probably agree with that. DeMarcus Covington's new, Gerard Mayo's new in his job. Nick Caley's going to go from tight ends coach, having not worked with quarterbacks, to not going to a quarterback room that has a 10-year veteran in it, though that should be added and absolutely desperately needs to be added. Bring Brian Hoyer's ass back immediately. Bring Jacoby Myers back as well. I wanted to talk about that, and that went by the wayside. I think the Patriots should trade immediately for Jacoby Myers in the second year of his contract. Be that as it may. but they need a Yoda somewhere in the organization, because no matter how nice and empowering and how different the culture is going to feel on Sundays, you and I both know it's going to be, how do we get Nick Bosa under control here? What are we going to do here? We're getting absolutely lit up by Calvin Anderson not being able to block that guy. What are we going to do? So those are the things that they have to be concerned about. But Nick Caley, presuming he is the offensive coordinator, boom, get his ass to the Senior Bowl this weekend. All right, let's change gears unless you have anything else.
No, sorry, I paused there because I am supposed to go get my hair cut.
Okay, let's leave that in.
How much time do we have?
This will be quick.
Okay, I'll stay.
What time's your haircut? 12:30?
12:30, yeah.
All right, quick. How long does it take you to get to Joe's?
About 15 minutes.
Phil, before we let you loose for that haircut, we're going to leave all that in. Hope you guys enjoyed that insight into what goes on when we're making the pod. Jerry Jones on Bill Belichick. I know Bill personally, and I like him. There's no doubt in my mind we could work together. None. How do people not understand the Patriots went 4-13 and were the worst team in the AFC? Did Jerry Jones not watch that 38-3 loss that the Patriots authored in Big D? And if he did, and he said, wow, it was Mac Jones, he can't play. Who drafted Mac Jones? Who put Mac Jones on a raft and pushed his ass out into the ocean? Phil?
Yes.
Why don't people realize the guy went 4-13 and just drove this friggin' franchise into an overpass?
I think I don't know if they look at it that closely, Tom. I think they probably would say it's a couple bad personnel misses, including at the most important position, but they were in the playoffs 2 years ago. The guy's won 6 Super Bowls. He's breathing down Don Shula's neck for most wins all time. He's highly intelligent. He's highly organized. He is a disciplinarian, and maybe owners say, that's what my team needs to get over the hump. Enough of this soft ass BS when it comes to how to handle players. Our players have had that for 5, 6, 25 years, maybe in some cases. And we need something different. And if this guy can get the most out of my talented roster that I'm paying a boatload of money for, then that's the guy I want.
So maybe in the same way Jaden Daniels is the wrong guy at the wrong time here because of the situation, maybe Bill Belichick was the wrong guy the wrong time here by the time it finished because of his ability to relate and the way things had gone. But he might be the right guy at the right time someplace else to instill.
I think that's fair. Fair. And I think if, Tom, the Cowboys or the Bills or the Eagles start 1-3 through the first month next year, if there were rumors about those teams being interested in Bill Belichick, I would not fault them for it. I would fault the Commanders for looking at Bill Belichick now, which we know they're not. It just came out that they're going to be hiring Dan Quinn to be their head coach, or the Panthers for hiring Bill Belichick to bring him in, because he's not the guy for a rebuild. He's the guy to squeeze a little bit more juice out of whatever types of fruit you have in your NFL locale. If you feel like there's more to get there because you need somebody who's a little bit tougher, go for it.
Last topic. There is one very pissed off podcast listener because he's sick and tired of the continued belittling and diminishment of Bill Belichick. Last name Edelman, first name Frank, out there at A1 Auto. He's had enough. He is hot. Did not like Joe Dickinson's take. Was not a fan of Mac Jones. Did not like the cut of his particular jib. And I don't think Frank's going to have a problem with me sharing that. But Frank has been, via text, not happy. Well, just 10 miles away, Tom Brady Sr. feels differently, saying of Bill, he runs a military system. It's a different generation. Bill's a great, great, great coach, but his interpersonal skills are horrible. He wanted to win without Tommy. He didn't know what he was losing. You're losing more than just a quarterback. Ego sometimes gets in the way of things. I think it did with Bill. Now he's in a situation where he's gotten crucified for the last few years by everybody, and a lot of luster has come off of his particular rose. Chris Gasper spoke to Tom Brady Sr., working my side of the street. I haven't talked. Well, I did actually, but I haven't. I don't take it on the air. So Frank, I know you're hot, and I know that you might have divergent opinions on Tom Sr., but I guess right now what I'm going to do, Phil, is, because you got to get your hair cut, just simply say, Frank, we have the ability to go 4 bucks. Okay. You,
I'd love
me,
that.
Phil, Tom Sr., let's hash it out. Or I'll just let you and Tom Sr. hash it out, and I'll just sit and watch.
Sure. We could be bystanders for that.
All right. Because I think I'm going to ask a simple question of those guys. Will Bill Belichick ever coach a team to a playoff win again? Phil, get your hair cut.
Appreciate you. Really, mostly, though, appreciate Frank Edelman. He's just an avid listener, and we love the guy for it.
He loves you, Phil. So
He's
does Phil
the best.
Missoula. All right. See you guys.